Hey everyone, in this video we're going to go through and use the Cisco iOS config module to push out some VTY access list lines. So we're going to push an access list to control access to our network routers and switches. We're going to utilize the iOS config module to do that. We'll go ahead and get into it. So this is our topology again. Right now we've used Site 400 as a test and have deployed it to these two devices here, VTY ACL, and set that ACL on the VTY lines. For information on our device, if you Google Ansible Cisco iOS, you should have the documentation page. And if you scroll down, you'll see the iOS config module. Information with regard to it is here, with examples at the bottom, as we've shown you in the past. Okay, so let's get into it. We've got our, we're in the Ansible directory. Let's go ahead and get into our access list directory. Okay, so we've got our files in here, Ansible config, our host info file, hosts, and we've got a couple of different playbooks. One playbook is quiet ACL. We'll go over that in another video, but the one we want is our VTY ACL. So let's go ahead and edit that file. And as you can see, we've deployed it. We've deployed it already to our Site 400. What it does is we go through and we run a couple of tasks. The first task we run is to clear any ACL that we have or have had within our topology from the VTY lines. So we're going to say go into the device. Our parent is going to be our line VTY 0 through 15. And then we're going to make sure that we don't have either of these access lists on that VTY line or on any of these VTY lines. So we say no access class VTY ACL in and no access class management ACL in. From there, we go down and we deploy our VTY ACL. Our parent is the IP access list extended VTY ACL. Before we make any configurations, we're going to make sure that the access list has been cleared off the device. So we're going to say before no IP access list extended VTY ACL. So I'm going to go ahead and before we do anything, make sure we delete it, and then we'll go ahead and add it back onto the device. So again, above, we're removing that access list from the VTY lines. In case we lose any connection to the device, we should still be able to get back into it. And then we're going to clear the access list and re-add it to the device. As you can see, we've got our Ansible server here with our IP address there, 100.3. It's a host address, so that's going to be the only device from that area that's going to be allowed. Our router loopbacks are another set of IPs that are going to be allowed access to SSH into these devices. And then our switch management networks will also be allowed in our VLAN 15 coming from the 192.168.15 networks. At the end, we're always going to put a deny all. So we're going to not deny IPs from any to any, and we're going to log that input as well. Another thing we want to make sure is that we're logging input for all of these because we want to make sure that we are tracking all connections to those devices via SSH and the VTY lines. So anytime somebody from the server logs in, it's going to log that into our local log file and then to our centralized management syslog file, our syslog server. Okay, we're going to match all that information exactly, and then after we apply the ACL, we're going to go ahead and reapply the access list to the VTY lines. So again, we use the iOS config with parent being the line VTY 0 through 15. And then the lines we're going to add under our parent is going to be the access class VTY ACL in and VRF also. This is a personal preference of mine. I always like to put VRF also just in case. We do implement VRF, management VRF, then we can go ahead and just implement, and it'll always use the VRF also underneath our VTY lines. And then at the bottom, we're going to make sure that we save our configuration running to startup if the configuration is modified. Okay, so we're going to go back up to the top because I think we need to go ahead and modify who we're going to push out to, because previously I pushed out to site 400. So now we're going to go ahead and push out to all devices. So say all hosts from our host file. We're going to escape, right, and quit. A couple of things I want to check. So we've got our site 400 device. We'll go ahead and bring that up on the console. And we'll show run pipe section line VTY. And you'll see on this device we have our access class VTY ACL in on VRF also. And then we're going to go show run pipe section IP access lists extended VTY ACL. And you see, here's our access list that's been applied, just as it is in our configuration file. So if we bring that back up, down here, line for line, should be exactly the same on our device as it was from our playbook. As you can see, Ansible server, we have our router loopbacks and our switch management networks, as well as our deny all at the end. Okay, we'll go ahead and exit out of that one, and let's go over to site 100, where we should not see any of that. Just for verification, going to enable on our console. We're going to show run pipe section line VTY. As you can see, there are no access lists assigned to this device. So pretty much it's a free-for-all. Anybody can connect to this device with any IP address and access the device if they know the username and password. Not very secure. We're going to make sure that we filter out only our management traffic or management IP addresses that are allowed to access the device. Again, so also if we do a show, let's just do show access list. You can see there are no access lists on this device. Go right and quit on that. Let's go ahead and clear the screen, and we'll run the playbook. Okay, we're going ahead and logging into those devices. We're going to make sure that we clear the ACL from any of the VTY lines. We're running through those devices now. Okay, now we're going to deploy that new ACL to the device. So if you remember, we were first removing the ACL to clear it off of the device, and then we're going to re-add it with all the settings. And then after we apply the ACL to the device, now we're going to go back through and reapply our ACL to the VTY lines. After that's done, we're going to make sure we go ahead and save the running configuration to startup. And you'll see on site 400, since even though we removed the ACLs, put the ACLs back on, the running configuration is still the same as the startup configuration. So as we tried to do the save running to startup, it said it was okay. There were no changes really made on that device, even though we ran configurations against it. So we play recapped. We ran 4 tasks on multiple devices, and we completed 4 tasks on most all of the devices, except for Site 400. 3 of those tasks ran. The last one, being the save running to startup, did not have anything to do because the running and startup were the same as they were before. So we've got our access on, and as you can see, here's the console. You can see the configurations that are being put on that device or pushed to the device. Now if we shall run pipe section line VTY, you'll see now that on the Site 100 gateway, we've got our access class VTY ACL on all of our VTY lines. And if we shall run pipe section IP access lists extended VTY ACL, you'll see that we have our access list just as it is in our playbook. And again, this will be the same across all of our devices. So making sure that we're not fat fingering or, you know, there's no typos. Everything on all of these devices is going to be exactly the same. So let's go back to our server, clear the screen, list out the directory. Again, that's our VTY ACL, right? We ran it against all hosts and put the same configuration on, you know, all of our devices. Now let's say we want to come in and we no longer want our switches to be able to, or to be included in that ACL, right? We want to remove the switch network ranges from that access list. The only thing we have to do is come in, we VI or edit the VTY ACL playbook. From here, I can just be on that line. I'm not going to insert or anything. I'm just going to hit the D twice, and it's going to delete those lines. So now the only thing we have is our Ansible server, our router loopback addresses, and a deny all at the end. If we escape, colon WQ to write and quit, and let's just take a look again at our 100 device. You'll see we have switch management in here now, right? And we're going to run it. We're going to run a new playbook or the updated playbook to remove the switch management networks from our access list. But we're going to do it on all devices. So let's go ahead and clear the screen. And we'll do the Ansible playbook, VTY ACL. And you'll see just how easy it is to modify your access, you know, your default access list across a wide network. So we're removing, again, that VTY access class. Now we're going to go ahead and remove the VTY ACL from the device and then re-add it with our new settings. Once it finishes up, it's going to reapply the ACL to our VTY lines. And then, of course, saves our running configuration to our startup configuration. If anything was modified, it's going to go ahead and make that configuration the startup. Now, as we can see, everything has changed on all those devices. We ran 4 tasks against each device. 4 tasks were completed or changed on each of those devices. So if we go back over to our Site 100 Gateway 1 device and we show run pipe section line VTY, you'll see we have the access list applied, and a show run pipe section IP access list extended VTY ACL. You'll see now we've got our Ansible server, our router loopbacks, but our switch management networks are now removed from this access list. Great way to, manage and maintain your default access lists across multiple devices. Let's go ahead and clear the screen. List again. So, quick little playbook. Great module. You're going to use the iOS config quite a bit, I'm sure. But hopefully this was informative. If you liked the video, go ahead and like it and subscribe, and keep an eye out for additional videos.